Hello and welcome to Typebook. We are Chris and Rose, INTJ and INFJ, and we are cataloging a variety of people based on their Jungian psychological types and their MBTI four-letter abbreviations. Please subscribe to our channel and like our videos so you can support the work we are doing here. Today we are taking a look at Dr. Iain McGilchrist at the request of an individual, so thank you.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
But I can point to many paradoxes in our society where we set out to do one thing and achieve another. You know, we believe so importantly that we're vulnerable to infection that we sanitize everything to the point where we immediately fall ill as soon as we contact a germ of any kind. We protect our children because we think we want to, preserve them. And by doing that, we make them incapable of benefiting from or even enjoying risk of any kind. Overprotection makes people weak. We criminalize drugs in this forlorn idea that we can rid society of drugs. We certainly don't do that, but we create a very fertile field for organized crime and for petty crime. So, I could go on and on, but we try to sort of make the humanities return on investment, but by doing that we make them certainly incapable of returning anything and a waste of resources. We misunderstand the nature of what we're dealing with, that things are complexly interconnected, that systems have many complexly recurring loops in them, and they're not linear in this way that bureaucratic organizations imagine things to be. They see a goal and they say, we take these logical steps, and usually we end up in the wrong place.
All right, let's stop.
We end up with something.
I have to first point out, he's wearing the cardigan.
Yes. What is it with the cardigan?
As you say, we've got him, boys.
They just have that. Yeah, we got them, boys. The nature of the ISFJ is just this. It's mild, and it's like unassuming and friendly. It's like wind in the willows. It's kind of like, you know what I mean? Or like people associate Britain with like this sort of ISFJ coziness, like the Queen and corgis, and it's very ISFJ. It's just very homely.
But at the same time, it's very truth-driven. It's just little things in speech that I notice. And I think it's because my TI is in the same place as theirs. But there's this emphasis on something to drive the point home. Like, this is the truth. I'm going to say this several times. He said, it's a misunderstanding. It's a misunderstanding. He repeated himself. And I know that seems like a little thing, but it's very telling, because this is the truth about something. And then in the repeating of it, then it helps to reaffirm it to ourselves. It's almost like we shore it up by saying the words again.
Yeah, it's almost like the more you say it, it's kind of like a honing, like a knife, you realign that edge.
And I think that's a lot of times can be a lower TI sort of thing.
Well, I think in some ways it enables you to be, or the ISFJ to be, the expert. Because it's like they take everything in meticulous little baby steps, constantly working away at it, and it's that third kind of baby function, and they have that drive to like explore it.
Yes.
Which typically is what you get with your third slot, it seems to be. Maybe like a higher TI person, just they wouldn't be that meticulous, and then they don't become that expert as much. Perhaps they branch out into different fields because they're kind of more quick in their TI, so they can sort of handle more things. Someone like Iain McGilchrist, like, he has his things, and he sticks to it, and he loves it, and he just keeps digging deeper.
And that's the SI, because we've said this before, it's the specialization function in a way. So they really find their niche and specialize in it and stay there and just keep digging and digging. And they love it. They'll be there for decades.
What I quite like about them as well is like, they're like these teddy bears. And then they'll also have like this serious kind of like mechanical, almost like Terminator 2 style, like, this is how it is. Life is meaningless. You know what I mean?
There's the voice.
They really have like two modes to them. It's like this duality they have where they are like loving and effy and grandfatherly, but then very like mechanical and like almost I don't know. But it's quite the juxtaposition.
Yeah, and I think this is why some of them can mistype or think that they're INFJs because they read. Yeah, because they read how INFJs can be sort of cold and detached. And so I'm sure they have this feeling as well in their mechanicalness, as you call it.
All right, 3, 2, 1, go.
We didn't intend. We go for freedom and we end up actually tyrannizing. We've seen this happen, unfortunately, in a number of societies in a disastrous way in living memory. And I believe we're now acquiescing in this in our own culture.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the word nuance, which is something that many of us who've sort of been watching the public conversation have sort of said nuance seems to be lost more and more. Like there's less and less space for nuance, there's less and less nuanced conversations. And even the nuanced conversations that maybe were sort of erupting or were emerging like a few years ago seem to have kind of often become more polarized and become more polarized. I think the pandemic had a huge impact. Yeah. You see all of these kind of conversations around, like the temperature seems to be raised more and more. Do you think that's related to the situation that you're laying out in your work?
Well, yes, I do, because I think another unfortunate reality is that the more you suppress and repress something, the more power you give it, and eventually it will erupt in a most unpleasant way. And then you say, you see, that's what we were fighting against. But actually, partly you caused the reaction by being so extreme. So in politics, if you stigmatize your opponents as stupid, unimaginative, foolish, immoral, and don't give them the benefit of the doubt, then they will become embittered and more extreme in their views. What always is important is dialogue. It's so basic. Anyone who's ever had a relationship with anybody will know that dialogue is essential to the continuing health of that relationship. And that when things get worse, what you don't do is say, I'm not...
I love this dude. He's great. I can see why people say, they might say INTJ for him. Because there's almost like a bit of shared manifestation in some way, in the way we come across. But, I don't wear cardigans. I'm not very friendly, so...
No. No, I don't. I personally can't see it. I can see, I can see perhaps maybe someone saying INFJ, but even that is a stretch for me. I think it's because he's just so warm. He's just so there. He's just so personable in a
sort of the professing way. Kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? I know it looks different, but like this is the sort of stereotype that we're all there and we're like, this is how it is. This is how it is. Blah blah blah. But it sounds different. It looks different. Like we're way more like.
Yeah, you're not very warm in it at all.
We're not very What do I want to say?
You're just pounding away.
Yeah, we're like a sledge, a hammer, and this is a bit more like.
Yeah.
It's kind of like kung fu versus like Krav Maga, whatever they call it, which is just like kneeing people and punching them in the face rather than like doing like grasshopper or whatever. 3, 2, 1, go.
Not talking. You say we must talk. And talk in a civilized way. Again, it's not so much the what as the how of all human activities that seems to me to matter.
And is this a left brain phenomenon where we increasingly see the other one as evil, as wrong, as unable to have that dialogue with?
I suppose so. I mean, one of the definite tendencies of the left hemisphere is black and white thinking. It thinks, in oppositional terms, either this or that. And we see that increasingly in our culture and in our interactions with machines, which is coming on so rapidly that almost year by year one can feel the encroachment into every attempt to achieve any outcome. You're forced to do it through the internet using a computer algorithm which will only allow very simple alternatives. But in life there are no simple alternatives. It's yes, but what if? And if the circumstances are like this, then what? And so on. And this is the loss of reason. Reasonable person in the past.
I feel like this is the problem with typing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's too robotic. It's like, oh, he's saying this, he must be INTJ. And it's way more complicated than that.
I think this is why academia is very appealing to types like this, these SI people, because they're very content staying in this kind of position, like I said, for years and years in their cozy little office at the university or college, studying, observing. It suits their nature, I think.
It's sort of like another day in the office, isn't it? Like they seem to just love like that daily thing where
right.
Well, it's time to get up. Time to get to the office and research some brain stuff.
Yeah, it's very rewarding for them. And there can never be an end to it for them. Like we said earlier, they just keep digging deeper and deeper and finding out more and more. And they're very content in it. And it's good that they are.
Yeah, the interest holds, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Whereas I think for us,
yes,
we
for
get
the
bored.
intuitives. Yeah, we do. Well, I think we get to the bottom of where we want to go, and then it's time to move on to something else. Something else is calling our name.
Yeah, there's always like a motive in it, I think. So
right.
We want to know to dig a well, and then we research it all when we become, we have a really good understanding how to dig a well, and then we dig a well, and then we're like, well, I'm done with that.
Time to move on. Let's learn how to arrange flowers or something. I mean, it's just, that's what it is, So, good for these people who have these interests and specialize in them because our society needs that. To support our project, please comment, like, and subscribe. We want to encourage a dialogue in the comments, so substantiated disagreement is welcome. Check out the playlist for this type and our recommended video below. If there's someone you want us to type, please leave a comment for us. Or you can look into our fast track system to find out how you can get your favorite people typed sooner.